welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our national landscape and political landscape and how they impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, we're looking at court strikes out 8 of 15 charges against Nnamdi Kanu as Kanu files 50 billion naira damages against the federal government over extradition from Kenya, continued detention. In the course of the program, we'll take your questions, but first subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. I have joining me via Zoom the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. It's good to see you.
Thank you for doing this with me again today.
Right, so let's look at it from the beginning. Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court in Abuja has struck out 8 of the 15 counts filed against the proscribed IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, that they were incompetent for not disclosing any valid offenses against the defendants. How do you react to these judgments, BK?
I think I agree absolutely with the trial judge, because many times the prosecution just tries to show that it has a very valid case against an accused person. They will now come up with multiple charges and all that, when all of those charges put together can be consolidated into a single charge. So what is the point in having a 50-count charge, for example, as we've seen in the past? What is the point in having a 50-count charge when you can actually have a 5-count charge or a 2-count charge that is very valid, that can lead you to a kind of prima facie case against an accused person? So what the judge said was that there were so many that the charges were mere repetitions, that did not disclose any offense that could be sustained by proof of evidence. So the judge was right, and what the judge has simply done is to say, okay, I okayed the trial based on count 1, count 2, count 3, count 4, count 5, count 8, and count 15. So which means that the rest of those things that Kanu was accused of doing in the remaining counts did not matter, because they amounted to repetitions that did not disclose the real offense that was committed. Of course, Kanu was accused of broadcasting or issuing deadly threats against Nigerians through his broadcast, and that in one of those broadcasts he warned that anyone that flouted his sit-at-home directive should write his will. He was also accused on diverse days, that's between 2018 and 2021, of making a broadcast inciting members of the public to hunt and kill Nigerian security officials and their family members, contrary to Section 1 subsection 2H of the Terrorism Prevention Act of the year 2013. Now, in count 8, one of the charges that the judge allowed the prosecution to sustain, in count 8, it was alleged that Kanu directed members of IPOB to manufacture bombs. In count 15, which was also allowed by the judge as one of the basis to try the defendant, it was said that between March and April 2015, he imported into Nigeria and kept it within the jurisdiction of the court a radio transmitter known as Tram 50L, containing a container of used items, which was declared as used household items. contrary to section 47, subsection 2 of the criminal code. So you will see in the various counts that the judge permitted to be sustained, you see clear charges leveled against him. You see offenses stated. But in a situation in which some of those charges did not disclose the offense committed, the judge had no choice but to remove them and prune everything down, prune the charges down. It is not until you bring 50 count charge, 40 count charge, 1 million count charge before you can sustain a case against an accused person. We've had this so many times, happening so many times, involving the EFCC. The EFCC will bring an accused person to court, accused of stealing our money, and they will be talking about a 50 count charge. Whereas at the end of the day, this 50 count charge can effectively be pruned down to just 10 or even 5. And by the time they get to court, you see that they will not be able to sustain their case against such individuals based on the multiple charges that they are brought up, that they really cannot sustain. So I think the judge was fair enough. The judge was right to have taken that decision. Now we are going fully into the trial. You know, this whole thing, the judge had to rule on Kanu's application that his detention and trial was illegal, you know, and Kanu's lawyer argued that the trial shouldn't even have been brought up in the first place. So it was in the process trying to have been charged, looked at the charges against him, and then removed those that the judge felt amounted to repetition and could eventually waste the time of the court. So Kanu was the one who filed the application before the judge to say, look, your court does not even have jurisdiction to try me, because in the view of Kanu's lawyer, Michael Sekome, the offenses that Kanu was said to have committed were committed outside of our country. And as far as the lawyer was concerned, the court did not have jurisdiction. But as we have seen, some of the charges indicated that the offenses were committed right here in Nigeria, like the matter of the weapons that were brought into the country, you know, the transmitter that was brought into the country in the guise of used items. Of course, that one is a matter that can be tried by a Nigerian court, especially the Federal High Court that is handling the matter now. So that's how we came to this point, that the judge had to now look at the entire charges. Right. It was because Kanu demanded that the case against him should be quashed. Right. That the judge now looked at all the charges and then determined in her wisdom that, look, not all of these cases can be sustained. So the ones that, not all of these charges can be sustained. The ones that can be sustained in her view, she has now left those ones and has ordered Kanu's lawyer to defend those allegations. I mean, in respect of the charges that have been left.
Yeah, one of the subsisting charges border on terrorism, such as count 4, which alleged that Mr. Kanu also, on diverse dates between 2018 and 2021, made a broadcast received and heard in Nigeria inciting members of the public in Nigeria in furtherance of an act of terrorism against Nigeria and its people to hunt and kill Nigerian security personnel, including their families. BK, we have seen these acts perpetrated to date in the southeast. What do you make of it?
Yes, it's a matter of deep concern. With Governor Soludo coming into office, had been very hopeful, had been positive that a change could come, because Governor Soludo was one of those who all along have pleaded for Kanu to be released from detention. You know, he even went to see him, you know, at a point when he was detained. So I had felt all along that his coming will ensure that we achieve lasting peace. But in the last few days, we've seen even his own local government, the governor's local government, set ablaze by unknown gunmen. The killings have not stopped. This unknown gunmen went to a Catholic church and killed 2 of the guards, and they have not stopped attacking police stations in Imo State, in Anambra State, Anambra and Imo especially, you know. So I think that the engagement of prominent people who have the ears of IPOB should continue. After all, just before the election, IPOB was prevailed upon to let the election hold, because they had said before that nobody should come out for election, you know. And you and I know that if a seat at home had been called on election days, it would have been difficult for the people to come out, risk their lives to come out and vote and elect a new governor for Anambra. But IPOB eventually rescinded that decision and allowed the election to go on. So I've always said that I'm confident that with the right people engaging individuals who have some level of influence on IPOB, these killings will stop. These killings will become a thing of the past. Now, Nnamdi Kanu has sued the Nigerian state. He has sued Nigeria over his abduction in Kenya and trial in Nigeria, which, according to him, contravenes the African Charter. You know, African Charter principles and guidelines on human and people's rights. So Kanu is saying that his abduction without any extradition hearing in Kenya violates Article 12, subsection 4 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, 2004. So Kanu has sued the Nigerian government now for a hefty sum of money, which the case will go on side by side with this particular one. Remember, he won his case recently over the attack on his father's house in the east, during which the security agencies destroyed property and all that. He won that matter. So he has sued the Nigerian state again over his abduction from Kenya without any form of extradition hearing. So that case will go along with this, and who knows how the matter will be decided, because as far as he's concerned, the manner in which he was brought to Nigeria contravenes Article 12.4 of the African Charter on Human Rights, as well as 5A of African Charter's principles and guidelines on human and people's rights. So the days, the next few days, we'll see a lot of stories coming out of the court concerning Kanu, the case against him by the Nigerian state, the case that he has filed against the Nigerian state, affirming that his extradition without an extradition process is abduction and rendering to Nigeria without an extradition hearing. contravened the law. So those cases will go together, and who knows how those cases will end. But I have always believed that there is a window for a political solution. I am not happy with the way lives are being lost in the southeast, with the way our people are being killed, with the insecurity that is going on there. And if we can't put an end to this insecurity, then we have to find other means. It is not every matter that can be resolved in by the judiciary. It is not every matter that can be resolved by force of arms. Sometimes dialogue can bring about peace. Perhaps this is one of such cases in which dialogue could prove to be potent in helping us to achieve peace in our dear Southeast. The economy in the Southeast is bleeding. People are losing their lives. Schools are being shut. Business premises are brought to court. And despite the fact that IPOB says it's no longer interested in sit at home on Mondays, you and I know that some individuals are still enforcing this sit at home, you know. So we just hope that somehow the reason will prevail, and these killings and attacks on our people in the southeast will come to an end.
One of the big tasks for the incumbent governor of Anambra State, Chukwuma Soludo, you know, you could recall that the IPOB member, they warned him not to listen to any advice for him to attack them or to take any action against them. But he has promised to lead the southeastern governors to the president, you know, to have a conversation with the president. There's a newspaper headline that says that it's either the federal government expedites action on Nnamdi Kanu or
on his trial.
Yes. So do you think, just like you mentioned, you know, saying dialogue, but the president had said before, despite all entreaties, he had said that Nnamdi Kanu should allow the case to go on. So do you think there is any room whatsoever, any silver lining around the fact that they are going to have a dialogue?
Some time ago, I was a bit confident because the president said when one of the leaders of the Southeast, led by this old man, Amechi, was a First Republic aviation minister. When they went to see the president said, "You have made a very tough demand on me, and well, that he will consider it." When I heard that the president will consider it, I was thinking that perhaps there could be light at the end of the tunnel. But as it usually happens, there are other people who advise the president against releasing Nnamdi Kanu so that the matter can be resolved politically. What the old man Amechi said was, look, he has listened to me in the past. He listens to me. If you release him to me, I guarantee you that all those negative things that he's doing, he will no longer do them. You know, perhaps the president was led to believe that the promises that the delegation made were empty promises, that in the end, Kanu will still continue to push his agenda of a state outside of a state carved out of the Nigerian state. So I don't think the president was convinced in the final analysis that it made sense to listen to, to do what those old men had pleaded with him to make. So, and you know, the Attorney General also said some time ago that dialogue was not ruled out. You know, so at some point I was a bit confident that dialogue could help us resolve this issue. But I think in the final analysis, the president has made up his mind to not look for a political solution to this problem, because when he said let the courts resolve the matter, that the matter was in the hands of the court and not in his hands. Of course, the president was not being totally correct. If he makes up his mind today, if the Attorney General of our country, who has the power to stop any criminal trial in our country, if he makes up his mind with the express permission of his boss to discontinue the trial, all they need to do is communicate it to the judge, and the judge will, in response to that, decide to terminate the case. So a court of law will not insist that a case must go on when the people brought the case make up their minds to seek a political solution, when they make up their minds to discontinue the case. But here was the president trying to give us the impression that because the matter was in court, he could not look for a political solution. A political solution is possible. After all, Nelson Mandela was in prison. He was brought out of prison,
right,
and he became president. You know, so a political solution is possible. But of course, from the body language of the president, he is not interested in that for now. Right. Maybe a new administration could make that one of his cardinal objectives, to solve the problem in the southeast, using political tools. Solution. Maybe after this administration leaves. But for now, the president doesn't appear to be interested in that.
Right. So let me quickly go on before I proceed with some of my own line of thoughts. But let me go to YouTube channel where we've got comments in the comment section. Keep sending your comments in. This is a time for you to make your opinions or your voice count on the program. Elochukwu Agamelu says, Jide, please, how do you react to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's claim that he did not jump bail, but rather he escaped by the whiskers for his life?
Yes, that's what he has said, that if he had not escaped, he could have been killed. And his lawyer is the man who stood shortly for him, Senator Inaya Baribe, also said the same thing, that he had every reason to run for his life, given the destruction that the security operatives carried out in his house. He has every reason to say that he did not jump bail because he felt that his life was in danger. Someone like Sunday Igboho who as well said the same thing, because when they went to his house, they destroyed his cars and even killed some of his workers. They killed some of his aides and were dragging their corpses on the floor. So he too could say that he fled so as to avoid being killed. If somebody comes into your home and visits that level of destruction in your absence, you will be thanking yourself that you were not at home when they came, because anything could have happened. So that has been Kanu's argument all along, that he did not jump bail, that he had to run for his life. We've seen many people run for their lives in our country when things get to a critical juncture. So that is his own argument. And whether the judge will be convinced by that is what I cannot say. But right now, Kanu's lawyer is pushing for bail. Yeah. Is pushing for bail aggressively, and the the prosecution is saying, no, don't grant bail. Because in the past, when you granted him bail, he abused that discretion. So it's up to the judge to believe Kanu's story
Yes.
that he fled for his life so as to have, he fled so as to avoid being killed by security men who came to his father's house and
Right.
destroyed, looking for him and
Yeah.
destroyed the house.
Right. Very quickly. To Niger says the Nigerian state is weak. Hence, why people can do all Kanu has done and still act like the victim. The Basque separatists in Spain and Kurds in Turkey are being treated far more harshly. I think the point he's trying to make is that why is Kanu playing the victim now?
Well, that's a question for other people to answer, not me. You do not expect Kanu, who is put on trial, to simply fold his hands and not come up with some measure of defense for himself. Even a murderer, a confirmed murderer, will still find a way to defend himself. So it's within the rights of Nnamdi Kanu to defend himself in the way that he has done. And let's face it, we have always said that some of the actions of our security agencies can't be defended. You don't go to a place looking for a man and then destroy the building in the way that they have done. So if that person comes out and says, look, these people, they tried to kill me, that was why I ran away. Would you say that the person was lying when you see the level of destruction that was carried out in the house where they thought he was staying? Would you, if Sunday Igboho comes out today to say, look, the Nigerian authorities wanted to kill me, I had to run away. I have every reason to believe that they wanted to kill me. That's why I ran away. Would you argue with him, given what we saw that happened in his house, where all his cars that were parked in his yard were destroyed, and they went on to even kill his own aides and dragging his own aides on the floor with blood everywhere? Would you argue with him that he was wrong in saying that if he waited, he would have been killed? I mean, it's an hypothetical situation. It could be a yes or no. No one is sure. But where you see that level of violence, you have every reason to try to save your life by getting out of the system.
All right, Mikhail, let me see how you react to the fact that, with the Federal High Court now barring journalists and members of the public from attending proceedings in terrorism-related cases, what implication does this have on our rights to freedom of information as journalists? Doesn't it look like using a section of the law to subvert another?
Well, I disagree with that decision. People have, journalists will be able to cover proceedings in our courts. It's not a military tribunal, for God's sake. The journalists coming to cover the courts should be screened and allowed to do their work. They should be allowed to do their work. So I don't understand. What is it that they want to hide from our people? What is it that they want to hide? Nigerians have said, okay, all those people accused of sponsoring terrorism, all those people accused of working for Boko Haram, put them on trial. Let's even know them. That can't be an impossible thing to do now. So if we have wasted so much time and these terrorists are unrelenting, now we want to put them on trial. We don't want people to witness the trial. To what end? People should be able to witness the trial of these people. And on the day that they are convicted, the courts should also be full of journalists who will report their conviction appropriately. That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. I've seen terrorists across the world put on trial, and such trials were reported. Yes, some terrorists could try to make what's it called? Make political statements, but we have to we have to bear in mind that that will happen. But the press can do its best to even refuse to put accent on those political statements that terrorists try to make during court proceedings. But we've seen in Chad near us here, Boko Haram fighters put on trial and sentenced to death, and their sentencing carried. I mean, their sentence implemented. So I really don't understand why we want this trial to be to be in secret, so that the only thing that we can report is what the lawyers come out to tell us transpired in court. I don't think it is right.
All right, BKO, finally, E. Bergen wrote something on our comment section, but I'll try to summarize because of the way he put it. So he wants to know whether, with Nnamdi Kanu's trial going on, being in the custody of the DSS and this trial going on, would it have any impact or any effect against the peaceful conduct of the 2023 elections?
Well, I don't think that it will have significant impact, because don't forget, elections are holding in different parts of our country, and the southeast is just a part of our country. So I do not think that this trial will affect the conduct of the election. So the general election will take place. What the courts can do is, during that period, during the period, I'm sure that Kadu will not be brought to court, because we know the implication of bringing the people who sit at home, because IPOB has said any day is brought to court, people should not go out. So shopping malls, markets, even transporters, and other categories of workers will stay indoors. So I don't see any significant impact that it will have on the election. We've had before the election. I also think that it's possible to bring down the tension if the governors of the southeast are able to prevail on the federal government to agree to a political solution to this matter.
All right.
I'm not ruling out a political solution.
Right.
It is still possible. Anything can happen. And if in the end they agree to a political solution, we will all be happy, because it is peace that we want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our people are being killed mercilessly, and it has to stop. At some point, it has to stop. We can't be having bloodletting in the northwest and having bloodletting as well in the southeast. So it has to stop. And whatever we can do to cause it to stop, we have to do it.
Absolutely.
Whatever sacrifice that we can do to bring the bloodletting in the southeast to an end, we have got to do it. Businesses are crumbling, businesses are dying, and it is not an ideal situation. It's not what anyone wants to see. Only a sadist will be happy with what's going on in the southeast, and we've got to find a way to solve that problem.
I hope those who are fomenting this trouble, northeast and south of Nigeria, and those in authorities will listen to your wise counsel, as you actually let it out on the program at this time. And that's our show for today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, for those insightful analyses, as always.
Thank you.
And thank you to our audience for joining us on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. On behalf of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.